So you could tell us, like, you could describe your name and your position in the school
Sure. You guys are rolling?
background. Yeah.
All right. My name is Dr. Dale Wood. I am a member of the Department of Chemistry at Bishop's University. I teach a number of courses, inorganic chemistry, analytical chemistry, environmental chemistry in the spring. I taught a course on the history and science of brewing. My focus is in fact, on the science of brewing now. Recently shifted my research focus and my educational focus towards this, and we've created a number of new courses revolving around the formation of a microbrewery here at Bishop's University. So I'm very involved in this project. We're in the process of getting a lab renovated for this purpose, and I'm very excited about sort of introducing the microbrewing process and just sort of bringing a greater knowledge of beer in all its facets, from a social drink to an incredibly good example of science and the importance of quality control and the importance of understanding, I guess, what it is that you're consuming, what it is you're making, etc. So this has really become my big focus, and certainly it will be, into the future. So I'm really excited about that.
So, okay, so let's go as a you probably know, like, the 4 grams is a sugar. For like 1 gram of sugar is 4 calories.
Mm-hmm.
1 gram of alcohol is around 7. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. Humans are naturally destined to prefer something high caloric. So even though it is a sugar, technically with carbs, alcohol is the highest dense thing of fat. Drinking a tub of lard is very nasty, disgusting, and we actually have a taste aversion to it. So the next highest calorie that we would have is alcohol. So as knowing this, would you say this sort of shows why your like European countries, top being Finland, Hungary, UK, top 10, the top 10 countries that drink alcohol are Europeans?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's mainly because of this, or do you think it's also because of St. Patrick's Day, social?
There's really no yes or no answer to that. One thing you have to understand is that none of those 3 things that you mentioned, sugar, alcohol, fat, sort of stand on their own in any way. Nobody's drinking pure alcohol, nobody's really consuming pure sugar, although that certainly has become more and more a part of our society. And the same thing with fat. Everything seems to be integrated in our foods, and absolutely, I think there's an attraction to high calorie foods, whether it's sweets or whether it's high fat content. The alcohol question is a very interesting one. If I look at it from the perspective of beer, never mind wine and other alcoholic drinks, just from the perspective of beer. Beer has been a staple of human society for 10,000 years, almost from the point where humankind domesticated grain. They were producing alcoholic beverages from it. The thing about beer is that it is an incredibly nutritious beverage. It is high in sugar. It's relatively low in alcohol compared to, for example, wine. But there are also fats and proteins that are present in it as well. I mean, these are all extracted from the grain, from the hops, etc., during the brewing process. I think it has been recognized for a long time that beer is nutritious, and that in moderation it's incredibly good for you. To give you an example, beer has, or should I say, brewing has a very strong monastic history. That is, the monks in Europe became very, very well known for brewing good beer. They did this because they had a relatively frugal diet as far as what they ate, but they drank large amounts of beer, and they recognized it as an incredibly good supplement to what they were eating, for example, during fasting periods, etc. So it's been known for a long time that beer is good for you. Um, During the Middle Ages, beer was drunk by everyone simply because it was much more healthy for you than the water was. Wherever you had dense populations, water was incredibly infected by bacteria and the like, whereas beer, because it goes through a boiling process, is completely clean. Um, and it has all kinds of interesting health benefits. If you look at it purely from the alcohol point of view, um, such a small proportion of it is actually alcohol that it represents only a very small fraction of the caloric total of the beer. You're never going to see, I don't think, an alcoholic beverage that is extremely high in alcohol as a staple of a society. So hard stuff or higher values of alcohol. These seem to have become more um, party drinks or sort of almost binge drinking type of thing. So these would be really the only beverage where you'd have a high caloric output from the alcohol itself. When you look at wine and beer, um, they have become staples of society. Um, but I honestly don't think that it's because of the alcohol. If the alcohol has any part to play in the sociological importance of beer and wine, I think it comes from the inebriating effects of the alcohol. I think it's that warm, fuzzy feeling, the reduction in barriers towards conversation and everything like that. I think alcohol plays a much more important role in that aspect of society than it would in the nutrition. I think it's more of a coincidence that you would see beer and wine as being an incredibly important part of people's diets, but I think that has a lot more to do with history and the other nutritious aspects of them. It's a well-known fact that beer and wine are, in fact, in moderation, extremely good for you. But I don't think it's due to the alcohol.
And microbrewery, because I just remember, like, when you talked about that, I remember this episode of The Simpsons
Yeah.
when Homer was making alcohol in his bathtub.
Yeah.
And I was always like, okay, if it's that easy, then the prices of alcohol are highly taxed. And as you were mentioning, a microbrewery on Bishops, so because beer is still in nutrition, as you very said, I didn't know it's very nutritious. So how do you think you could bring alcohol, because as it is still an alcoholic beverage, how do you think that could mix with like the institutions like education? Because as you're probably realizing that if we look at it, we're probably going to understand history. Because if you look St. Patrick's Day, based on it, Super Bowl has now become the king of beer ads, from Budweiser to this. And but we always have separated media, arts, away from academic. But it seems that like now we're trying to bring alcohol to act when we're talking about underage drinking,
Mm-hmm.
binge drinking. So how do you think you're bringing with what you said, like more classes, two bishops, a microbrewery? How do you think that will work on, for not really on a bishop's level, but on more of like the grand scale of how education into institutions will look at this?
Well, I think anytime you can bring more education to the drinking subject is a good thing. I think we need more education for our students in terms of what can be very bad about drinking, particularly binge drinking, but what can be very good about it as well. What I hope to do with introducing beer from the microbrewery into the Bishop's community, for example, the Gate, is to make the focus more on social drinking. When you go to other countries, the UK, for example, um, drunkenness in the pub is generally not tolerated. It's not considered to be an acceptable byproduct of drinking. It's more about getting together with friends or family, people that you enjoy spending time with. And again, beer just sort of I don't know, lowers those barriers of conversation, I think, and really does literally bring people together. Uh, there's a big difference between that, what I would consider to be social drinking, and the whole concept of the university drinking, the party drinking, what I would call binge drinking. That's people drinking solely for the purpose to get drunk, and it just doesn't have to be that way. Again, the alcohol is an important component of beer, but it's not the only important component of beer. There's an awful lot of other stuff that's present in that drink that makes it of incredible benefit.
Such
to
as
those
what?
who
Would
consume
you
it.
like to
Like I said,
elaborate on that?
Yeah.
Like the proteins, that was something I didn't really.
There have been several different studies that have been done on the effects of alcohol on the human body, and several of them have shown that up to 2 servings of alcohol per day lowers blood pressure. It has a positive effect on cholesterol, and those are just two examples. In addition, it reduces stress, and there's a number of other things that are beneficial. Now, the key here is 2 servings of alcohol per day. That means you could have 2 bottles of beer, you could have 2 glasses of wine. They don't ever sort of mention hard stuff in there. Our body doesn't deal with high levels of alcohol particularly well, but when you keep it down in the beer wine range, our body has absolutely no problem processing those levels of alcohol, and in fact uses it to its benefit. There are a lot of other nutritional aspects of beer and wine that make them excellent daily beverages. Like I said, they have a decently high calorie content, so they do nourish the body. They're incredibly high in electrolytes, so they do replenish the necessary minerals in the body. In fact, beer is considered to be better than many sports drinks in terms of actually rehydrating and restoring the electrolyte balances in the body. The proteins is not really as important in terms of from a nutritional point of view, but obviously our body does need protein, it does need amino acids, and those are all present in beer. Perhaps most significant from a health perspective is the antioxidant characterizations of beer, and I think anytime you have natural antioxidants that are present in any food, these are going to help in terms of keeping sort of the radical concentrations in our bodies down to acceptable levels, and that does promote good health as well. So beer has a lot of positive characteristics from a nutritional point of view. That said, it's all about moderation. You don't have to go much beyond that 2 servings of beer a day before it becomes problematic, because beer is very high in calories. Obviously, if you have too much of it, then your body's going to store that as fat, right? If you are consuming in large amounts of alcohol, it has an impact on your liver, and other organs of the body. So it's all about moderation. On a low level, it's good for you. On a high level, it's very bad for you. And then you can get into societal ills like alcoholism and this type of thing. But there's not much doubt, today that beer under reasonable concentrations is an extremely beneficial beverage. So that's part of the education that I would like to bring to the university community and say, look, this is not a bad thing, as long as it's drunk responsibly, it's drunk with the right purposes in mind. It's a great thing. It really, really is.
Well, no, we had more like a question about like GABA. Like GABA is like it's pretty much, I think it's we have this in our bodies. Basically, it slows you down from the sympathetic nervous system, and they're saying like beer, well, all the type of alcohols, basically like produces more GABA in your body, so it slows you down kind of bit.
Yeah.
Like, can you explain
GABA.
more like the biological
Because I think
part?
it affects
Like
your timing too.
timing.
Yeah, it affects your time.
Yeah, it affects something like I know that it affects like it your body basically like you get more like not less depressed kind of thing. It's just but I was just like asking just a question about like how like the beer like the amount of alcohol in the beer will affect biologically like the body.
I mean more depressed.
More
More
More depressed.
'Cause
All
beer-
alcoholic beverages are depressants. They do.
Yeah.
They can act that way, but again, you have to take the whole picture into consideration. There's always going to be people who are more susceptible to the effects of alcohol than others. You know, we're very, very conscious in our society of the concept of an alcoholic, but there are other potential side effects of consuming alcoholic beverages that that certainly doctors and and nutritionists would be aware of. One example that jumps to mind for me is a gluten intolerance, for example. This is a condition that makes people susceptible to wheat and other grains, and it can make them quite sick. Affects the digestive system, etc. And of course, wheat is and barley and other grains are incredibly important components in beer. So you have to be aware of what you're eating or drinking. It doesn't matter whether it's beer or anything else. The fact is that if you've got a pre-existing condition and beer could have a negative impact on that or make it worse, I think you just have to tell yourself that this is not something that I can consume. I don't know what this GABA thing is, but it's a well-known fact that alcohol above certain concentrations in the body does slow down reflexes. It's a big problem that way. What the mechanism there is, I don't know. But again, I think it's all about moderation. If you're going to be putting yourself into a situation where your reflexes are going to be important to you, driving, is a perfect example of that. You just make sure that you're not impaired. I mean, and if you're concerned about it at all, you don't drink at all. If you're going to be operating a car, or if you're going to be in a situation where you need to have your complete awareness and your reflexes, etc. I mean, I think it's a given. If you know what the effects are, and you don't want to suffer those effects, you stay away from it. Again, that all goes to education. And maybe not enough people are aware of some of the other side effects of alcohol and how it can impact you. And that's all about education, getting students involved, getting students more knowledgeable about beer and wine and other alcoholic beverages.
And you think this could change the culture?
I hope so.
Is that your goal in this edit?
Well, it's a pretty lofty goal to change a culture. I think, Bishop's is a university, and like any other university, you get young people away from home. The natural inclination is to have a good time, to party. There's going to be binge drinking. There's nothing you can do about that. The fact is, it's going to happen. I think Bishop's is already promoting a culture in which there is support for students and security and safety measures that are put in place so that the potential fallouts from that are minimized. This project of mine, my hope is that students will feel less pressure to engage in that type of activity and more of an inclination to go towards a more social convention in terms of the consumption of alcohol. In my opinion, you will have much more fun. You're going to develop interactions and friendships that are going to be completely different because they're going to be more meaningful, I think, than anything that's going to be forged when everybody's just hammered out of their skull. And it is a healthier and more safe environment too for our students. So you can't get rid of it altogether. I just want students to recognize that there is an alternative to that type of behavior. I'm not condemning it. I like I said, I've been there myself. Every once in a while, still, it's you have too much to drink and you're there. You just have to make sure that the environment is safe. But I'd like to provide an alternative, a socially acceptable, safe, beneficial alternative for all of our students.
Any last words?
I think it's great that students are investigating these routes. I think think it's absolutely paramount that alcohol consumption be at the forefront of student awareness. And so I'm appreciative of you guys give me this opportunity to speak about it, because it is very much an issue, not just here but at any university where you've got young people together. And so yeah, thanks. And I hope, I hope when we look back 5 years down the road, we'll see a really cool change here. So awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.